Ryan Cooper checked his phone one more time. Table 12. He was sure of it. The woman in the wheelchair smiled at him when he sat down, like she'd been waiting. They talked for 45 minutes before two angry strangers appeared at their table, demanding to know what was going on. That's when Ryan realized his mistake. He was sitting with the wrong woman, but by then, it was already too late. He'd met Natalie Ashford, and he had no idea her mother was a billionaire who would do anything to destroy him. The restaurant was fancier than anything Ryan had ever stepped foot in. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, and the silverware probably cost more than his weekly grocery budget. He tugged at his tie, the only one he owned, purchased 3 years ago for his wife's funeral. His co-workers had set this up as a joke, downloading a dating app on his phone during lunch break and creating a profile he didn't ask for. But when a match actually came through with a dinner reservation at Marcello's, Ryan figured maybe the universe was trying to tell him something. Mia had asked him again that morning why she didn't have a mommy like the other kids at daycare. She was too young to understand that her mother had died giving birth to her, too young to carry that weight. But Ryan carried it every single day. The guilt, the grief, the overwhelming responsibility of raising a daughter alone while working construction jobs that barely covered rent. He spotted table 12 in the corner, partially secluded by a decorative screen. A woman sat there alone, her back to him, blonde hair cascading over the shoulders of an elegant navy dress. A wheelchair was positioned at the table's edge. Ryan's heart jumped. The app profile hadn't included a photo, just interests and a brief bio. He hadn't known what to expect, but somehow this felt right. He smoothed down his shirt and walked over, his work boots squeaking slightly on the polished marble floor. "Hi," he said, his voice catching slightly. "Table 12. The woman turned, and Ryan forgot to breathe. She was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful, but real beautiful. Her eyes were warm hazel, and when she smiled, tiny lines appeared at the corners that suggested she didn't smile nearly enough. There was something vulnerable in the way she looked at him, like she was bracing for disappointment. "Yes," she said, studying him with equal curiosity. "You must be—" "Ryan," he said quickly, extending his hand. "Ryan Cooper." She hesitated for just a fraction of a second before taking his hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "It's nice to meet you, Ryan." He sat down, nearly knocking over a water glass in his nervousness. She steadied it with a quick movement, and they both laughed. The sound broke some of the tension between them. "Sorry," Ryan said. "I'm not really used to places like this." "Neither am I," she said softly. "Not anymore, anyway." A waiter appeared with menus that had no prices listed. Ryan's stomach dropped, but he tried not to let it show. This was already costing him more than he could afford, but his co-workers had insisted the reservation was prepaid through some promotional thing. He hoped they weren't lying. "So," Ryan said, searching for something to say. "The app said you like old movies." Her face lit up, transforming her cautious expression into something genuine. "I do. There's something about the way they told stories back then. No special effects, just good writing and real emotion. Have you seen Casablanca?" "About a dozen times. My wife loved it." Ryan froze. Wrong thing to say on a first date. "I mean, my late wife. She passed away 3 years ago." The woman's expression softened with genuine sympathy, not the awkward pity Ryan usually got. "I'm so sorry. That must have been incredibly hard." "It was," Ryan admitted, surprised at how easy it was to talk to her. "Still is, some days. But I have my daughter, Mia. She's 7. She keeps me going even when I don't think I can take another step." "You have a daughter?" Something flickered in her eyes. Warmth. Interest. Maybe a touch of longing. "What's she like?" Ryan pulled out his phone, showing her his lock screen. Mia grinned at the camera, missing her 2 front teeth, chocolate ice cream smeared across her cheek. "She's everything. Loud, messy, stubborn as hell. She wants to be a dinosaur when she grows up." The woman laughed, a real laugh that made her whole face change. "Not a paleontologist. An actual dinosaur?" An actual dinosaur, specifically a T-Rex because, and I quote, "they're the bossiest and they don't have to clean their rooms." She covered her mouth, laughing harder. "She sounds absolutely wonderful." "She is." Ryan put his phone away, studying the woman across from him. "What about you? Do you have kids?" "No," she said quietly, her smile fading slightly. "I've never really been around children much. My life has been complicated." Before Ryan could ask what she meant, the waiter returned. They ordered, and the conversation flowed easier than Ryan expected. She asked about his work, and he told her about construction, about the satisfaction of building something with his own hands, of seeing a structure rise from nothing but dirt and blueprints. "There's something honest about it," Ryan said. "When you build something, you can see the result of your work. It's real, solid, unlike most things in life." She nodded slowly. "I used to feel that way about photography. Capturing a moment, making it permanent." "Used to?" She gestured to her wheelchair. "I was 19, horseback riding accident. The horse spooked at something, threw me. My back broke in 3 places, T12, L1, and L2 vertebrae." Ryan winced. "I'm sorry." "Everyone's sorry," she replied, not unkindly. "But sorry doesn't change anything. I've been in this chair for 9 years now. You'd think I'd be used to it, but some days I wake up and forget, just for a second. Then I try to move my legs and remember all over again." Ryan leaned forward. "Can I ask you something? And you can tell me if I'm out of line." "Go ahead." "Why did you agree to this?" "The blind date, I mean. You seem like someone who could have anyone you wanted." She looked away, and Ryan saw something vulnerable and raw cross her face. "Because I wanted someone to see me before they saw the chair, or the last name, or the money. I just wanted someone to see me as a person, not as a problem to solve or a tragedy to pity." "I see you," Ryan said quietly. Her eyes met his, searching. "Do you?" "You're wearing a navy dress because you think it makes you look professional, but really you'd rather be in jeans and a comfortable sweater. You've been twisting that napkin in your lap since we sat down, which means you're nervous. Your hands are strong, I noticed when we shook hands, which means you don't let people do everything for you. And when you smile, really smile, your whole face changes. That's what I see." She stared at him for a long moment, and Ryan worried he'd said too much, been too forward. Then she smiled, that real smile he'd just described, and something shifted in the air between them. "I'm Natalie," she said. "I should have introduced myself properly before." "Natalie," Ryan repeated. "It suits you." They talked through dinner, through dessert, through 2 cups of coffee each. Ryan learned that Natalie loved thunderstorms, that she collected vintage cameras she couldn't use anymore because her hands shook too much to hold them steady, that her favorite food was terrible gas station nachos with bright orange cheese. Natalie learned that Ryan sang badly in the shower, that he'd built Mia's entire bedroom set from scratch using YouTube tutorials, that he missed his wife but was finally ready to try living again. "She would have wanted this," Ryan said, stirring his coffee. "Sarah, my wife. She made me promise before she went into labor that if anything happened to her, I wouldn't spend my life alone. I told her nothing would happen, but she made me promise anyway. It's like she knew." "That must weigh on you," Natalie said softly. "Every day. But Mia needs to see that life goes on, that love doesn't end just because someone dies. I want her to know it's okay to be happy again." Natalie reached across the table, her hand hovering near his. "I think you're doing an amazing job." 45 minutes turned into 2 hours. Ryan forgot about the fancy restaurant, forgot about his nervousness, forgot about everything except the woman across from him who laughed at his terrible jokes and listened like every word he said mattered. He was just starting to think this might be the best night he'd had in 3 years when a woman's voice cut through their bubble. "Excuse me, are you Ryan Cooper?" Ryan looked up to see a tall woman in a red dress standing at their table, her expression somewhere between confused and furious. Behind her stood a man in an expensive suit, looking equally baffled. Yes," Ryan said, his stomach sinking. "I'm Jennifer. Your date? From the app? I've been sitting at table 21 for over an hour waiting for you. Ryan's blood went cold. He grabbed his phone, opening the app with shaking hands. Table 21, not table 12. Table 21. Oh my God, he breathed. I'm so sorry. I thought... The man in the suit stepped forward, his eyes on Natalie. And you must be Natalie Ashford. I'm Craig Morrison. Your mother arranged for us to meet tonight. Natalie's face had gone pale. I thought you were... She looked at Ryan, realization dawning in her eyes. We're at the wrong table. Jennifer crossed her arms. This is unbelievable. I waited for an hour. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? I apologize, Ryan said, standing up quickly. I made a mistake. I saw table 12 and just assumed. Well, now I understand why you weren't answering my texts. Jennifer snapped. She looked at Natalie with undisguised contempt. You can have him. I'm not interested in someone who can't even get a table number right. She stormed off, heels clicking against the marble floor like gunshots. Craig looked between Ryan and Natalie, a slow smile spreading across his face. This is quite the mix-up, he said smoothly. Though I have to admit, I'm almost impressed by the creativity. Did you two plan this? No, Natalie said firmly. We didn't. And Craig, I appreciate you coming tonight, but I think there's been enough confusion for one evening. Craig's smile faded. Your mother paid me very well to be here. Paid you? Natalie's voice went sharp. She hired you. Through a matchmaking service, yes. I'm an investor, and your mother thought we'd be a good match. She was very specific about what she wanted. Someone established, someone who understood wealth, someone who could handle your... situation. My situation, Natalie repeated, her voice dangerously quiet. The wheelchair, Craig clarified, as if it wasn't obvious. Not everyone can handle that kind of commitment. Ryan's hands clenched into fists. I think you should leave. Craig raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? You heard me. Get out. And who are you to tell me anything? I'm the guy who's been sitting here for 2 hours having an actual conversation with an amazing woman while you were probably planning how to mention your investment portfolio. Ryan stepped closer to Natalie's chair. So yeah, get out. Craig's jaw tightened, but he nodded curtly and left. The silence that followed felt heavy. Ryan slowly sat back down. Your mother set this up, he asked quietly. Natalie closed her eyes. She's been trying to get me to date for years. I've refused every setup, every introduction, so she went behind my back and hired someone, and I crashed it by sitting at the wrong table. Yes. Natalie opened her eyes, and to Ryan's surprise, she was smiling slightly. But I'm glad you did. Ryan felt something warm spread through his chest. Really? Really. The last 2 hours were the best I've had in years, even if they were based on a mistake. Some of the best things happen by mistake, Ryan said. Mia was a surprise pregnancy. My wife and I weren't planning on kids yet, but she was the best accident that ever happened to us. Natalie reached across the table, her hand hovering near his. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you want to leave? Actually leave, I mean. Not go to our separate wrong tables, but leave together. Ryan didn't hesitate. Yes. They paid their separate bills. Ryan wincing at the total but refusing to let it show. They left the restaurant together, Ryan walking beside Natalie as she maneuvered her wheelchair down the ramp with practiced ease. The night air was cool, a welcome relief from the stuffy formality inside. There's a park 2 blocks from here, Natalie said. It has the best view of the city at night. Want to see it? Lead the way. The park was small, more of a courtyard really, but it opened up to a stunning view of the downtown skyline. They found a bench, and Ryan sat while Natalie positioned her wheelchair beside him. For a while, they just looked at the lights in comfortable silence. I have to be honest about something, Natalie said finally. I didn't tell you my last name. I noticed. I didn't want to push. It's Ashford. Natalie Ashford. Ryan shrugged. Okay. Should that mean something to me? Natalie let out a breath that might have been relief. My mother is Catherine Ashford. She owns Ashford Hospitality Group, hotels, resorts, luxury properties all over the world. So you're rich, Ryan said. Very. Does that change who you are? Natalie turned to look at him. What do you mean? Does having money change the fact that you love old movies and thunderstorms? Does it change the way you smile or the way you listen to every boring story I told about construction sites? Does it change the person sitting next to me right now? No, Natalie whispered. Then it doesn't matter to me. Ryan met her eyes. I'm a construction supervisor. I live in a one-bedroom apartment with my 7-year-old daughter. I'm 3 months behind on rent, and I had to borrow money from my buddy to afford tonight. I'm about as far from your world as you can get. If that matters to you, I understand. It doesn't, Natalie said immediately. It doesn't matter at all. They exchanged numbers before parting ways. Ryan caught a bus home while Natalie's driver picked her up in a car that cost more than Ryan would make in 5 years. But when he collapsed into bed that night, checking his phone one last time, there was already a message waiting. I had a wonderful time tonight. Thank you for sitting at the wrong table. Ryan smiled in the darkness and typed back, best mistake I ever made. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan and Natalie met 7 times. Coffee at a diner where Natalie insisted on paying and Ryan had to swallow his pride to let her. A walk through the botanical gardens where Ryan pushed her wheelchair up the steeper paths without being asked, just naturally falling into step beside her. A late movie showing where they were the only 2 people in the theater and spent half the time talking instead of watching. A visit to an art museum where Natalie told him about composition and light, her hands moving expressively as she described the photographs she used to take. Each time the connection between them grew stronger, the conversations deeper, the silences more comfortable. Ryan found himself thinking about her constantly, checking his phone between work tasks, smiling at random moments when he remembered something she'd said. But Ryan hadn't introduced her to Mia yet. He wanted to be sure first, wanted to know this was real before bringing his daughter into it. Mia had been through enough loss. She didn't need to get attached to someone who might not stay. Still, Mia had started asking questions, noticing that Daddy was happier, that he smiled more when he checked his phone, that he sometimes hummed while making breakfast. Do you have a girlfriend, Daddy? Mia asked one morning over cereal. Ryan nearly choked on his coffee. What makes you ask that? You're happy. You're only happy when something good happens. Ryan set down his mug and crouched beside her chair. I did meet someone. Her name is Natalie, but I wanted to make sure she was nice before I introduced you. Is that okay? Mia considered this seriously. Is she nice? Very nice. Does she like dinosaurs? I don't know yet. You should ask. That's important. Ryan laughed. You're absolutely right. I'll ask. That afternoon, he texted Natalie about Mia's dinosaur question. Her response came immediately. I love dinosaurs, especially T-Rexes. They're the bossiest. Ryan stared at the message, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. That's exactly what Mia says. Then we're clearly going to get along perfectly. On their 8th meeting, Ryan made a decision. Mia wants to go to the park tomorrow. Would you want to come with us? Natalie's breath caught. Meet your daughter? Only if you're ready. No pressure. I'm terrified, Natalie admitted. I've never really been around kids. What if she doesn't like me? What if I don't know what to say to her? What if I mess everything up? Ryan took her hand. Just be yourself. That's all you need to be. The next afternoon was warm and sunny. Perfect park weather. Ryan pushed Mia on the swings while Natalie watched from a nearby bench, her hands twisted together in her lap. Mia had been shy at first when they arrived, hiding behind Ryan's legs when she saw the wheelchair. But curiosity won out over nervousness. After a few minutes, Mia approached Natalie cautiously, her head tilted with that intense focus children get when examining something new. Why do you have wheels? Mia asked with the blunt honesty only 7-year-olds possess. Because my legs don't work, Natalie said simply, meeting Mia at eye level. I was hurt a long time ago in an accident, so now I use this chair to move around. Mia considered this seriously. Does it hurt? Sometimes, but mostly I'm used to it now. It's just part of who I am. Can I see it? Mia pointed at the wheelchair, her curiosity overcoming any hesitation. Natalie nodded, and Mia examined the chair with intense focus, running her small fingers over the wheels, asking questions about every button and lever. Then she looked up at Natalie with her gap-toothed smile. It's actually pretty cool, Mia declared. You're like a transformer, part person, part robot. Natalie laughed, and Ryan saw her shoulders relax for the first time all afternoon. I've never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. My daddy says you like dinosaurs, Mia continued. I do, especially T-Rexes. Mia's eyes went wide. Those are my favorites, because they're bossy and they don't take nonsense from anyone. Exactly, Natalie said seriously. They're the queens of the dinosaurs. Do you want to play tag with us? Mia asked suddenly. Mia, I don't think... Ryan started, but Natalie interrupted. I'd love to, but you have to make the rules fair since I can't run. Mia thought hard. Her face scrunched up in concentration. Okay, you can be home base. If we touch your chair, we're safe from whoever is it, and you can tag people if they get too close. They played for over an hour. Mia shrieked with laughter as Ryan chased her around the playground, diving toward Natalie's wheelchair at the last second to safety. Natalie kept score, gave running commentary, and cheered them both on with genuine enthusiasm. When Mia finally wore herself out, she climbed into Natalie's lap without asking permission, resting her head against Natalie's shoulder. You're nice, Mia said sleepily. Are you going to be my daddy's girlfriend? Ryan's face went red. Mia, you can't just ask. It's okay, Natalie said softly. She looked at Ryan over Mia's head, something vulnerable and hopeful in her eyes. Would that be okay with you if I was? Mia sat up, suddenly wide awake. Yes, then you could come over all the time, and we could watch movies together, and you could read me bedtime stories, and maybe we could get matching pajamas. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Ryan said, but he was smiling. He met Natalie's gaze. But yeah, I'd like that very much. That evening, after Mia was finally in bed following a marathon story session where she'd made Ryan read the same dinosaur book 3 times, Ryan's phone rang. It was Natalie. She's amazing, Natalie said, her voice thick with emotion. Your daughter is absolutely amazing, Ryan. She loved you too. She's already planning our next park visit, something about building a dinosaur museum out of sticks. Can I tell you something? Always. I've been scared for so long. Scared that my life was over after the accident. Scared that no one would ever see past this chair. Scared that I'd be alone forever. That I'd never have the things other people take for granted. Love, family, connection. She paused, and Ryan could hear her breathing. But today, with you and Mia, I wasn't scared. I felt like maybe I could have this. A family. Love. All the things I thought I'd lost when I lost my legs. Ryan gripped the phone tighter. You haven't lost anything, Natalie. You're still here. You're still whole. You're still the same person you were before the accident, just with a different way of moving through the world. I'm falling for you, she whispered. Both of you. Good, Ryan said, his own voice rough with emotion. Because we're falling for you too. Neither of them knew that Catherine Ashford's assistant had already compiled a full report, that a private investigator had photographed them at the park, capturing Ryan pushing Natalie's wheelchair, Mia sitting in Natalie's lap, the 3 of them looking like a family. That by morning, Catherine would know everything about the construction worker who dared to get close to her daughter. And neither of them knew that Catherine would do whatever it took to tear them apart. Catherine Ashford sat in her corner office on the 42nd floor, the city sprawling beneath her like a kingdom she'd conquered through sheer will. She'd built her empire from the ground up after her husband died 20 years ago, turning a small hotel chain into a global powerhouse worth billions. She hadn't done it by being soft. She hadn't done it by trusting people who wanted something from her family. The file on her desk was thorough, as she'd demanded. Ryan Cooper, age 32. Construction supervisor at Riverside Development, widower. 3 months behind on rent. Daughter with upcoming dental surgery he couldn't afford, estimated cost $1,500. Working double shifts just to make ends meet. No social media presence, no criminal record, no connections to wealth or society. The perfect target for a gold digger. Catherine had seen it before, many times. Young men who thought they could marry into wealth, who saw vulnerability and opportunity. Her daughter was beautiful, kind, isolated, and alone. Of course, someone would try to take advantage. The wheelchair made Natalie seem like easy prey, desperate enough for affection that she wouldn't ask questions, wouldn't see the manipulation. The photos made her jaw clench. Natalie laughing, actually laughing. Something Catherine hadn't seen in years. Natalie with that little girl in her lap, looking natural and comfortable with a child when she'd always insisted she wasn't good with kids. Natalie looking happier than Catherine had seen her since before the accident. That was the danger. Natalie wanted so desperately to be normal, to be loved for herself and not her name, that she couldn't see what was obvious to anyone with experience. This man had somehow discovered who she was, positioned himself at that restaurant, created this entire fairy tale to manipulate his way into their fortune. Catherine picked up her phone and called the investigator. "Get me everything," she said coldly. Bank records, employment history, associates, family connections, and find out who else knows about this relationship. I want to know if he's working alone or if there's a larger scheme. She hung up and stared at the photos again. The little girl bothered her most. What kind of man used his own child as part of a con, brought his daughter into the scheme to make himself seem more sympathetic, more trustworthy? Catherine made another call, this time to her head of security. "I need you to arrange a site visit, the Riverside Development Project, tomorrow afternoon. Make it look routine." She would handle this herself, as she handled everything. She'd built a company worth billions by trusting her instincts, and her instincts told her Ryan Cooper was dangerous. Not because he was violent or cruel, but because he made her daughter hope. And hope, in Catherine's experience, was the most dangerous thing of all. Ryan was inspecting foundation work the next afternoon when the black Mercedes pulled up to the construction site. He didn't think much of it at first. Investors and architects visited regularly. But when the woman who stepped out wore a suit that probably cost more than his truck and walked with the kind of authority that made his foreman immediately straighten up and call for attention, Ryan knew this was different. "Mr. Cooper?" she said, extending a manicured hand. "Catherine Ashford, I'm considering this site for a potential hotel expansion. Do you have a moment to walk me through the project?" Ryan's stomach dropped to his boots. Ashford, Natalie's mother. "Of course, Miss Ashford," he managed, wiping concrete dust from his hands before shaking hers. Her grip was firm, cold, assessing. They walked the site, Catherine asking pointed questions about load-bearing walls, foundation integrity, timeline projections. Ryan answered professionally, trying to ignore the way she studied him like a specimen under glass. He showed her the structural plans, explained the safety protocols, pointed out where they were ahead of schedule and under budget. Finally, as they reached the far corner of the site away from other workers, Catherine stopped walking. "Let's dispense with the pretense," she said coldly, her pleasant expression dropping like a mask. "I know who you are. More importantly, I know what you are." Ryan's hands clenched at his sides. "I don't know what you mean. Don't insult my intelligence. You targeted my daughter. You somehow discovered her identity, positioned yourself at that restaurant, and created this entire performance to get close to her money. That's not what happened. The table was a genuine mistake. Nothing is ever a genuine mistake when it involves my daughter and her trust fund." Catherine pulled an envelope from her designer purse. "I'm prepared to offer you $100,000. Cash, transferred to any account you specify. Take it, disappear from Natalie's life completely, and we'll consider this matter closed." Ryan stared at the envelope like it was a snake about to strike. $100,000. More money than he'd ever seen in his life. Enough to pay off every debt, afford Mia's surgery, move them into a decent apartment, maybe even take a breath for the first time in 3 years. "You think I'm with your daughter for money?" he said slowly. I think you're a desperate man with a child to support and debts you can't pay. I think you saw an opportunity and took it. I don't blame you for trying. People have done worse for less. But this ends now. You're wrong. Am I? You're 3 months behind on rent. Your daughter needs dental surgery you can't afford. You work 70 hours a week and still can't make ends meet. Catherine's voice was sharp, clinical. This is more money than you'd make in 2 years of construction work. Take it. It's the smart choice, the only choice that makes sense. Ryan felt something hot and angry rise in his chest. I don't want your money. Everyone wants money, Mr. Cooper. That's how the world works. Not from you, and definitely not as payment to leave Natalie. He stepped back, putting distance between himself and the envelope. I care about your daughter. I didn't know who she was when we met at that restaurant. I don't care about her money, and I'm not going anywhere. Catherine's eyes narrowed dangerously. Then you're a fool. I've destroyed men with far more resources than you possess. I will make your life very difficult, Mr. Cooper. Consider this your only warning. Do what you have to do, Ryan said quietly, meeting her gaze without flinching. But I'm not leaving her. He walked away, leaving Catherine standing alone with her envelope of blood money, his hands shaking with adrenaline. He pulled out his phone, intending to call Natalie to tell her everything that had just happened. Then he stopped. What would he say? That her mother tried to bribe him? That would only hurt Natalie, drive a wedge between her and the only family she had left. It would force Natalie to choose between her mother and him, and he had no right to ask that of her. Not yet. Not when they'd only known each other a few weeks. Ryan put the phone away. He'd handle this himself, the way he'd handled everything since Sarah died. He wouldn't burden Natalie with his problems. That evening, Ryan met Natalie at their usual diner, the one with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting on the burner for hours. She looked radiant, telling him about a photography exhibit she wanted to take him to, about a new accessible trail she'd found that would be perfect for all three of them to explore. Ryan tried to focus, tried to respond normally, but his mind kept circling back to Catherine's threats. What could she actually do to him? Get him fired? He was good at his job, the best supervisor on the site. His crew respected him, his boss valued him. Catherine Ashford couldn't just snap her fingers and destroy his livelihood. Could she? Is everything okay? Natalie asked finally, her hand touching his across the table. You seem a million miles away. Just tired. Long day at work. Ryan. She squeezed his hand gently. You can talk to me. Whatever it is. He wanted to. God, he wanted to tell her everything. But when he looked at her face, saw the happiness there, the hope that had been missing for so long, he couldn't bring himself to shatter it. I'm fine, he lied, hating himself for it. Just thinking about how lucky I am. Natalie smiled, believing him, and Ryan felt the lie settle like a stone in his stomach. 3 days later, Ryan's foreman called him into the office trailer. Tom's face was grim, and he couldn't meet Ryan's eyes. I don't know how to tell you this, Tom said, not meeting Ryan's gaze. Corporate called this morning. They're letting you go. Effective immediately. Ryan felt the floor tilt beneath him. What? Why? Did I do something wrong? That's just it. You didn't. You're the best supervisor we have, Ryan. Your sections are always ahead of schedule, under budget, with the fewest safety incidents. I fought for you. I called corporate 3 times, but the order came from high up. Someone with real power wants you gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. Ryan knew exactly who that someone was. Catherine Ashford had made good on her threat. How high up? Ryan asked quietly. Tom hesitated. High enough that my boss's boss wouldn't even discuss it. Just said it was a done deal and I should process your termination immediately. I'm sorry, Ryan. If there was anything I could do, it's not your fault. Ryan stood mechanically. I'll clean out my locker. He gathered his things in a daze. Work gloves, safety goggles. The photos of Mia he kept taped inside his locker door. His crew members watched with sympathy and confusion, some offering handshakes and wishes of good luck. They all knew this firing made no sense. In his truck, Ryan sat with his head against the steering wheel and let himself feel it. The fear, the anger, the crushing weight of knowing he had no idea how he'd pay rent, how he'd afford Mia's surgery, how he'd keep food on their table. He'd been barely making it before. Now he had nothing. His phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. "Dinner tonight? I miss you. Mia keeps asking when she can see you again." Ryan stared at the message, his vision blurring. He should tell her, should explain what her mother had done. But another part of him, the part that had been poor his entire life, that had learned early that you handled your own problems and never asked for handouts, told him to keep quiet. This was between him and Catherine. He wouldn't use Natalie as a shield or make her fight his battles. Can't tonight. Sorry. Need to handle some things. He spent the rest of the afternoon filling out job applications online, calling every construction company in the city. Most weren't hiring. The ones that were offered positions that paid half what he'd been making, jobs as basic laborers instead of supervisors. Word traveled fast in the construction world. Getting fired raised questions, made people cautious about hiring you even if the circumstances seemed strange. When he picked up Mia from daycare that evening, she bounced toward him full of 7-year-old energy and excitement. "Guess what, Daddy?" Natalie called the daycare. "She wants to take us to the zoo this weekend. They have a baby elephant." Ryan forced a smile, lifting his daughter into his arms. "That sounds really fun, sweetheart." "Are you sad, Daddy?" Mia's small hand touched his cheek. "Your eyes look sad." "Just a little tired, baby girl." Mia hugged his neck tightly. "Natalie makes you not tired. When you're with her, you smile lots more. You should call her." Ryan held his daughter close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "You're right. She does make me smile." That night, after Mia was finally asleep following 3 stories and 2 glasses of water and 1 check under the bed for monsters, Ryan sat at their tiny kitchen table surrounded by bills he couldn't pay and job applications that wouldn't lead anywhere fast enough. His phone rang, an unknown number. "Mr. Cooper, this is Janet Mills from Child Protective Services. We've received a complaint regarding your daughter's living situation. I'll need to schedule a home visit within the next 48 hours to investigate." Ryan's blood went cold, his grip tightening on the phone. "A complaint? From who?" "That information is confidential, but the report we received alleges significant financial instability and potential neglect. It suggests that due to your recent termination from employment, you may be unable to provide adequate food, housing, or consistent care for your daughter." "That's not true. Mia is never unsupervised. She's in licensed daycare when I work, and when I'm home, I'm with her every second." "I understand, Mr. Cooper. These complaints aren't always accurate, but we're required by law to investigate every report. Are you available tomorrow afternoon at 2? Ryan agreed because he had no choice, his mind racing. This wasn't coincidence. Getting fired and reported to CPS within days of each other? Catherine Ashford wasn't just trying to remove him from Natalie's life. She was trying to take Mia, trying to prove he was an unfit parent so he'd have nothing left to fight for. The home visit was a nightmare that stretched for 2 hours. The social worker inspected every inch of their small apartment with a clipboard and a camera, making notes about the peeling paint Ryan couldn't afford to fix, the broken window latch in Mia's bedroom, the general cramped quarters that were all he could afford on his salary. She opened the refrigerator and cabinets, photographing the sparse contents. "When did you last go grocery shopping, Mr. Cooper?" 3 days ago. Mia eats a lot." The truth was he'd been stretching their food budget, going without lunch himself so Mia could have enough. "And you were recently terminated from your employment?" "Yes, but I'm actively looking for new work. I have applications out at 15 different companies." "What childcare arrangements do you have while you're job hunting?" "My mother watches her when I have interviews. Otherwise, Mia's in daycare." The social worker made more notes. She interviewed Mia separately, asking questions about whether Daddy ever left her alone, whether she felt safe, whether she had enough to eat. Mia, confused and scared by the stranger asking weird questions, gave uncertain answers that the social worker wrote down with an expressionless face. Mr. Cooper, I'm not here to judge your circumstances, the social worker said as she prepared to leave. But I need to ensure your daughter is in a safe, stable environment. Given your current financial situation, recent job loss, and housing conditions, I have significant concerns. I'll need to file a report and schedule a follow-up visit in 2 weeks. If the situation hasn't substantially improved by then, we may need to discuss alternative arrangements for Mia's care. After she left, Ryan sat on the floor of Mia's bedroom, surrounded by the furniture he'd built with his own hands, and let himself break. He'd survived his wife's death. He'd survived 3 years of single parenthood, of poverty, of bone-deep exhaustion. But this might be the thing that finally destroyed him. They were going to take his daughter. Catherine Ashford was going to take the only thing in his life that mattered. His phone buzzed again. Natalie, worried now. Ryan, please. I'm really worried about you. You've barely responded in days. Did I do something wrong? Talk to me. Ryan typed and deleted 3 different responses. Finally, he settled on something close to the truth. I need to see you. Can you meet me? It's important. Of course. Where? The park where we took Mia. 30 minutes? He called his mother to watch Mia, making up an excuse about a job interview. Then he drove to the park, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. Natalie was already there when he arrived, her face etched with worry. Ryan sat beside her on the bench where they'd watched Mia play, where everything had seemed possible just a week ago. What's wrong? Natalie asked immediately. You're scaring me. Ryan told her everything. The confrontation with her mother, the bribe, the job loss, the CPS visit. Catherine's systematic campaign to remove him from their lives, to prove he was unfit, to leave him with nothing. Natalie's face went through shock, disbelief, and finally rage as he talked. She did this? My mother did this to you? Her voice was shaking. She got you fired? She reported you to CPS? I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to come between you and your family. Between me and... Natalie's laugh was bitter. Ryan, she's trying to destroy you. She could take Mia from you. Do you understand that? She could take your daughter. I know. Ryan's voice broke. I know, and I don't know how to stop it. Natalie grabbed her phone. I'm calling her right now. This ends tonight. Wait. Ryan caught her hand. If you confront her directly, it might make things worse. She'll just deny it, claim she's protecting you, and then we'll have no proof of anything. So what do we do? Ryan was quiet for a long moment, the words cutting him open from the inside. I think we need to step back, just for a while. Until I can get back on my feet, find a new job, pass the CPS inspection. If your mother sees that we're not together anymore, maybe she'll back off. Maybe she'll leave me alone long enough for me to get stable again. Absolutely not, Natalie said fiercely, tears streaming down her face. I'm not letting her win. I'm not letting her drive us apart. This isn't about winning. This is about Mia. I can't lose my daughter Natalie. I can't. She's everything. If Catherine takes her from me, I'll have nothing left. No reason to even keep breathing. Then let me help. I have money, more money than I could ever spend. I can pay your rent, cover Mia's surgery, hire the best lawyers. No. Ryan's voice was firm, final. That would prove your mother right, that I'm with you for money, that I'm using you. I won't do that. This is insane. You're letting her manipulate you. I'm making an impossible choice because I don't have any other options. Ryan stood, his heart breaking into pieces. I'm sorry, Natalie. I love you. God, I love you so much. But I love my daughter more. I have to love her more. That's what parents do. He walked away, leaving Natalie crying on the bench, and hated himself more than he'd ever hated anything. But Mia needed him to be strong, needed him to make the hard choices, even if those choices destroyed him. What neither of them saw was the small figure watching from behind a tree 50 yards away. Mia had followed her father when he'd left her with Grandma Cooper, worried about why he'd been so sad lately, why he barely smiled anymore. She'd hidden in the back seat of his truck under a blanket, then slipped out when he parked at the park. She'd heard everything. And though she didn't understand all the words, she understood enough. The mean lady, Natalie's mom, was trying to take her away from Daddy. And it was all because Daddy loved Natalie. Mia made a decision with the simple clarity only children possess. If the adults couldn't fix this, she would have to fix it herself. For 3 agonizing days, Ryan didn't call, didn't text, didn't respond to Natalie's increasingly desperate messages. He threw himself into job hunting with manic energy, filling out applications at all hours, taking interviews for positions that paid barely above minimum wage. He searched for cheaper apartments, found places in worse neighborhoods that would still eat most of his non-existent income. Mia stayed with Ryan's mother across town, out of the way while he tried to put their shattered life back together piece by piece. He told himself it was temporary, that he'd bring her home once he had a job lined up, once the apartment was in better shape for the follow-up CPS visit. But Mia had other plans. She'd heard the social worker mention a hospital when talking to Daddy, heard talk about the Ashford family and how they owned important buildings. Mia knew about hospitals. Mommy had died in one, and Daddy always got sad when they drove past them. But she also knew hospitals were where sick people went to get better. Maybe if she went to the hospital, she could make the mean lady better. Make her not mean anymore. Make her see that Daddy was good and Natalie made them happy. On the morning of the 4th day, while Grandma Cooper was in the shower, Mia took $5 from the cookie jar on the kitchen counter and slipped out the front door. She'd watched people get on buses before, lots of times. You paid money and told them where you wanted to go. Easy. The bus driver looked skeptical when a 7-year-old in a dinosaur t-shirt climbed aboard alone, clutching crumpled dollar bills. "Where are your parents, honey?" "My daddy's at home working." "I need to go to the hospital. It's an emergency." The driver's expression shifted to immediate concern. "Are you hurt? Do you need an ambulance?" "No, I'm okay. But I need to see someone at the hospital. It's really, really important." The driver radioed his supervisor, explained the situation. They made the decision to take her to the nearest hospital emergency room where staff could figure out what was going on and contact her family. Mia didn't correct them when they assumed she needed medical help. Hospitals were hospitals, and she'd figure out the rest when she got there. At the hospital, nursing staff brought Mia to a small consultation office while they tried to figure out where she belonged. A kind nurse with purple scrubs knelt down to Mia's level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Mia Cooper. I'm 7 3/4. "And who are you trying to see at the hospital, Mia?" Mia remembered the name from Daddy's phone, from all those text messages he'd been staring at sadly. "Natalie Ashford. She's my friend. She's really nice and she has a wheelchair that's like a transformer." The nurse's eyebrows rose sharply. "Natalie Ashford?" "The Ashford family. Her mommy is mean and I need to talk to her. To make her not mean so Daddy can be happy again." The nurse made a phone call, speaking in low tones. Within minutes, everything changed. Mia found herself in a much nicer office with leather chairs and a big window showing the whole city. A woman in a perfect suit walked in, looking at Mia like she was a puzzle to solve. "Hello, Mia," Catherine Ashford said, sitting down across from her. "I understand you were looking for someone." Mia straightened her shoulders, trying to be brave like Daddy taught her. "Are you the mean lady?" Catherine blinked, clearly caught off guard. "Excuse me?" "The mean lady who's trying to take me away from my daddy." Catherine's expression shifted, something complicated crossing her face. She dismissed the nurse and closed the door, then sat down at Mia's level. "No one is trying to take you away from your father, Mia." "Yes, you are. I heard Daddy tell Natalie everything. You made him lose his job so we don't have money. You told people to check our house and say it's not good enough. You want me to go away so Daddy can't see Natalie anymore. But that's mean because Natalie makes Daddy smile, and I love when Daddy smiles." Catherine was quiet for a long moment, studying this small, fierce child. "You love your father very much. He's the best daddy in the whole entire world." Tears started rolling down Mia's cheeks. "He makes me pancakes even when we don't have much food. He built my whole bedroom with his hands, the bed and the dresser and the bookshelf and everything. He reads me stories every single night even when he's really, really tired from working. He gives me his food when there's not enough. He never, ever makes me feel bad that Mommy died having me, even though I know it makes him sad. Catherine's hands tightened on the arms of her chair. And Natalie makes him smile again, Mia continued through her tears. He hasn't smiled like that since Mommy died. He's been so sad for so long, and then Natalie came and he was happy. Why are you being mean? Why don't you want him to be happy? I'm not trying to be mean, Catherine said slowly, but her voice had softened. I was trying to protect my daughter. From what? From being happy too. Mia wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Daddy doesn't want your money. He doesn't even like money that much. He just likes Natalie. And I like her too. She's really nice. And she let me sit in her lap and she made up special tag rules so I could play, even though she has wheels instead of legs that work. She taught me that being different doesn't mean you can't play. Catherine stood and walked to the window, her back to Mia. How did you get here, Mia? Bus. I paid with cookie jar money. It took 2 buses and a nice lady helped me figure out which stop. Does your father know where you are? No. He's at Grandma's house looking for jobs so we don't lose our apartment. Catherine turned around, and something in her expression had changed. You're very brave, Mia, coming all this way alone. I'm not brave. I'm scared. Mia's voice trembled. I'm really scared. I don't want to lose my daddy. He's all I have left. Mommy's gone, and if they take me away from Daddy too, I won't have anybody. You won't lose your father, Catherine said, and there was a weight to the words. I promise you that. I'm going to call him right now, and then we're going to fix this. While Catherine arranged for Ryan to be contacted, she pulled up security footage from the restaurant, the footage she'd watched before. This time, she watched differently, not looking for deception or manipulation, but for truth. She saw Ryan's genuine confusion when the real dates arrived, saw Natalie's equal surprise, saw 2 people who'd stumbled into each other's lives completely by accident and found something real. She watched them laugh, watched the natural way they leaned toward each other, watched Natalie's face light up in a way Catherine hadn't seen in 9 years. Then she pulled up the investigator's full report, forcing herself to read the parts she'd ignored before. Ryan Cooper had never Googled Natalie Ashford, had never shown any interest in her money or asked questions about her family, had, in fact, refused every offer of financial help Natalie had tried to make. The only thing he'd ever asked for was time with her, just her time and her company. When his wife had died, Ryan had turned down offers from Sarah's wealthy parents to help raise Mia, had insisted on doing it himself, working himself to exhaustion rather than accept handouts. The man had pride. Stubborn, foolish pride, perhaps. But it was real. Catherine had been wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. 20 minutes later, Ryan burst through the door, his face wild with panic and fear. He dropped to his knees in front of Mia, pulling her into his arms hard enough that she squeaked. "Don't you ever do that again," he choked out. "Do you understand me? Never, ever leave like that. I thought..." His voice broke. "I thought something happened to you. I'm sorry, Daddy. I just wanted to help. I wanted to make the mean lady not mean anymore." Ryan looked up at Catherine, his expression hard and protective. "Thank you for keeping her safe. We'll go now." "Wait," Catherine said. "Please, sit." Ryan wanted to refuse. She could see it in every line of his body, in the way he held Mia like someone might try to take her. But he sat stiffly on the edge of a chair, keeping Mia securely on his lap. "Your daughter said something that made me think," Catherine began carefully. "She said you don't want my money, that you just want Natalie. That's true. And she said Natalie makes you smile again, that you haven't smiled like that since your wife died." Ryan's arms tightened around Mia. Also true. Catherine sat down across from them, and for the first time, she looked less like a CEO and more like a mother. "I've spent the last week trying to protect my daughter from what I thought was a con artist. Someone who would hurt her, use her, take advantage of her vulnerability. But I've been watching the wrong things, looking for proof of my assumptions instead of seeing what was actually there. Which is, a man who loves my daughter, who sees her as a person, not a prize or a project, who makes her happier than I've seen her in 9 years. Catherine's voice softened, became almost gentle. I was wrong about you, Mr. Cooper, and I'm sorrier than I can adequately express. Ryan stared at her, speechless, like he couldn't quite process the words. I've already made calls, Catherine continued. The CPS complaint will be officially withdrawn within the hour. It was made anonymously, but through channels I control. As for your job, she paused, and something like shame crossed her face. I had you fired from Riverside Development. That was entirely my doing, and it was unforgivable. I can't give you that position back without raising questions and causing problems for the people who had no part in this. But I can offer you something else. I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's a genuine job offer. Catherine met his eyes steadily. VP of Construction Development for Ashford Hospitality Group, $250,000 annually, full benefits, company vehicle, relocation assistance if needed. Ryan's jaw dropped. That's not a real job offer. That's you trying to buy forgiveness. It's both, Catherine admitted. But it's also genuine. Before I had you fired, I called your supervisor at Riverside. Not to get information for my investigation, but because I wanted to know if you were actually competent or if you were faking expertise. He told me you're the best construction supervisor he's worked with in 20 years, that your sections are always ahead of schedule and under budget, that you have the lowest safety incident rate, that your crew would follow you anywhere. He fought to keep you even when corporate ordered him to let you go. That still doesn't mean— We have 18 properties under development right now, Catherine interrupted. Major projects in 6 different states. Our current VP of Construction Development is retiring in 3 months, and we've been searching for a replacement for over a year. No one we've interviewed has the combination of technical expertise, leadership ability, and integrity we need. You do. I can't accept that. Why not? Because it would prove you right, that I'm with Natalie for money, that I'm using her to get access to your family's wealth. Mia tugged on Ryan's shirt. Daddy, can I say something? Of course, sweetheart. If you take the job, we could keep our apartment. And I could get my teeth fixed so they don't hurt anymore. And maybe we could even get a puppy like you promised. She looked at Catherine with the serious expression children get when they're trying to solve adult problems. But Daddy should only keep some of the money. The rest should go to other kids who need help. Like when you buy me ice cream, you always buy some for kids whose parents can't afford it. Remember that time at the park? Catherine's eyes widened. Ryan looked down at his daughter, stunned. You remember that? I remember everything, Mia said. You're always helping people, Daddy. So we should help kids with the extra money. Ryan looked back at Catherine, and something had shifted in his expression. If, and this is a big if I accept this job, it won't be for the salary you offered. I will accept a salary of $85,000. That's more than enough for me and Mia to be stable. It covers our rent, her surgery, and all our needs. I want the entire remainder, $165,000, to be donated annually, directly from the company to charities that help children from low-income families. Ryan, that's non-negotiable, he interrupted. You want to prove I'm not after money? That's how we do it. I take only what I need to provide for my daughter. The rest goes to people who need it as much as I did. And I earn that salary by doing the work, not by dating your daughter. If I'm not good at it, you fire me. If I am good at it, I keep it on my own merit. Those are my terms. Catherine studied him for a long moment, seeing the stubborn pride, the fierce independence, the absolute refusal to compromise his principles even when facing financial disaster. She'd been so wrong about this man. Agreed, she said finally. And I'll match that donation from company funds. That's $330,000 annually to help children in need. We'll set up a foundation, let you be involved in choosing which organizations receive funding. And one more thing, Ryan said, his voice hard. If you ever try to manipulate Natalie's life again, if you ever try to control who she loves or how she lives, I walk. And I'll make sure she knows exactly why. Fair enough. Catherine extended her hand. Do we have a deal? Ryan shook it, his grip firm. We have a deal. Mia clapped her hands together. Does this mean Natalie can be my mommy now? Like, officially? Both adults looked at her. Catherine smiled, the first real smile Ryan had seen from her. I think that's up to Natalie and your father, Mia. But I very much hope so. At that moment, the office door burst open. Natalie wheeled in fast, her face streaked with tears, her hair disheveled like she'd been running her hands through it. Where's Mia? Your assistant said there was a child here looking for me and I thought something terrible happened and... She stopped, taking in the scene. Ryan holding Mia. Catherine standing calmly. No one looking panicked or angry. What's going on? Mia jumped off Ryan's lap and ran to Natalie, throwing her small arms around her. I fixed it. I came here on the bus all by myself, and I told your mommy to stop being mean, and now Daddy has a really good job, and we're not going to lose our apartment, and you can be with us forever. Natalie looked from Mia to Ryan to her mother, completely lost. I don't understand anything that's happening right now. Ryan stood slowly. It's a long story, but the short version is that your daughter is a hero. Your mother and I have reached an understanding. And I'm an idiot who should have trusted you enough to tell you everything from the start. Tell me what? Ryan, you're not making sense. Catherine wheeled Natalie's chair closer, positioning her daughter to face her directly. I've been horrible, she said quietly. I tried to break you two apart. I had Ryan fired from his job, reported him to Child Protective Services, did everything in my power to drive him away from you. And I was completely, utterly wrong. Natalie's face went pale, then red with fury. You what? You tried to take Mia away from him? Yes. You destroyed his livelihood? Yes. And now you expect me to just forgive you, to pretend this didn't happen? Catherine shook her head, and there were tears in her eyes. No, I don't expect forgiveness. I expect it will take a very long time before you trust me again, if you ever do. But I'm asking for the chance to try, to be better. To be the mother you deserve, and the grandmother this brave little girl needs. The word grandmother hung in the air like a promise. Natalie's expression softened slightly, though anger still simmered beneath. I'll need time, Natalie said finally. A lot of time. I understand. I'll wait as long as it takes. Natalie turned to Ryan, wheeling closer to him. And you? You pushed me away. You lied to me about what was happening. I was trying to protect Mia. I was terrified of losing her. By lying to me, by shutting me out, by keeping you out of something ugly. I was wrong. I should have trusted you to be strong enough to handle it. Ryan moved closer, dropping to one knee beside her wheelchair. I'm sorry, Natalie. I'm so sorry. I was scared and desperate, and I made the wrong choice. Mia tugged on Natalie's dress, demanding attention. Please don't be mad at Daddy. He was just scared, like when I have a really bad dream and I hide under all my blankets so the monsters can't see me. He was hiding from the scary stuff because he didn't know what else to do. Natalie looked down at Mia, and tears started falling. She pulled the little girl into her lap, holding her tight. You're pretty wise for someone who's only 7 3/4. I know, Mia said seriously. Teacher says I'm very mature. Natalie laughed through her tears, then reached for Ryan's hand. I want to be in your life, both of your lives, if you'll have me. Always, Ryan said, his voice rough with emotion. Always and forever. They stayed there together for a long moment. Ryan kneeling, Mia in Natalie's lap, the three of them forming a circle while Catherine watched with tears streaming down her own face. She'd almost destroyed this. Almost let her fear and need for control ruin her daughter's chance at the happiness she deserved. She wouldn't make that mistake again. 2 weeks later, after Ryan had started his new position and proven immediately that Catherine's faith in his abilities wasn't misplaced, Natalie showed up at Ryan's apartment with a proposal. Move in with me, she said without preamble, wheeling into his small living room. You and Mia. My place is fully accessible, plenty of room for everyone, and I want us to be together. Really together. Ryan, who'd been helping Mia with homework at the kitchen table, stopped mid-sentence. Natalie, that's too fast, I know. But we've already wasted time because of my mother's interference. And I wake up every single morning missing you both. Missing the sound of Mia's laughter. Missing your terrible singing in the shower, missing feeling like I'm part of something. She wheeled closer, taking his hand. I love you, Ryan. I love Mia. I want us to be a real family. Mia, who'd been pretending to focus on her math worksheet, jumped up excitedly. Can I have my own room? With dinosaur wallpaper. And can we get a puppy? A big one. Natalie laughed. Yes to the room. We'll discuss the puppy. Ryan sat down heavily on the couch. This is huge. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does? Natalie challenged. We can't let fear stop us from taking chances. You taught me that, remember? You sat at the wrong table and stayed even when you realized your mistake. You took a chance on something that scared you. Ryan looked at his daughter, who was practically vibrating with excitement. Then back at Natalie, at this woman who'd stumbled into his life by complete accident and become everything he didn't know he needed. Okay, he said. Let's do it. Let's build something together. They moved in 3 weeks later into Natalie's spacious, accessible penthouse apartment. Catherine helped, hiring professional movers and even showing up herself to carry boxes, trying to rebuild bridges she'd nearly burned beyond repair. She and Natalie were still healing, still learning to trust each other again. But they were trying, having honest conversations for the first time in years. Ryan started his new job and immediately proved his worth, catching a major structural issue at a property under construction that would have cost millions to fix after completion. His team respected him, and the other executives quickly realized Catherine had been right about his abilities and integrity. The donated salary went to 3 different charities, all focused on helping low-income families with children. Ryan insisted on being actively involved, wanting to ensure the money went where it would do the most good. He visited the programs, met the families, understood the impact. It made the sacrifice of the larger salary feel worthwhile. Mia flourished in ways that took Ryan's breath away. She got her dental surgery. She got her dinosaur bedroom, complete with a mural Ryan painted himself. She got something even more important, a complete, stable family. She called Natalie Mama Nat naturally, without being prompted. She called Catherine Grandma Cat, and made the older woman laugh more than she had in decades. 4 months after moving in together, Natalie had a health scare, a minor infection that, for someone with paralysis, required hospitalization for monitoring. Ryan barely left her side, sleeping in an uncomfortable chair by her bed, helping nurses with transfers, advocating for her care with the kind of fierce protectiveness that surprised the medical staff. On the 3rd night, when Natalie woke in pain at 2 a.m, Ryan was there immediately. He helped her adjust positions, called the nurse, held her hand while medication was administered, talked her through the discomfort with a calm voice. You don't have to do this, Natalie whispered when the worst had passed. It's the middle of the night. You should be sleeping. Where else would I be? Most people can't handle this part. The medical stuff, the reality of my disability, the complications that come up. It's not glamorous or romantic. Ryan brushed hair away from her face gently. Most people are idiots. This isn't a burden, Natalie. You're not a burden. You're the person I love, all of you, including the hard parts, the complicated parts, the parts that require extra patience and care. Natalie started crying, tears sliding down to the hospital pillow. I don't deserve you. You deserve everything, Ryan said fiercely. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know that. Making sure you never doubt for 1 second that you're wanted, needed, cherished exactly as you are. He kissed her forehead, and Natalie held onto his hand like an anchor. 2 months later, Ryan took Natalie back to Marcello's restaurant. He'd arranged everything with the staff ahead of time, calling in favors and probably spending more than he should have. They were seated at table 12, the same corner table where their story had begun. Mia was there too, wearing her fanciest dress, the blue one with flowers that Natalie had bought her, and holding a small velvet box like it contained the world's most precious treasure. What's going on? Natalie asked, looking between Ryan and Mia with curiosity. Why does this feel like you two are planning something? Do you remember the first thing you said to me? Ryan asked, taking her hand. I said yes, when you asked if this was table 12. No, Before that, you smiled at me and said, "You must be," and then I interrupted you. Ryan stood and knelt beside her wheelchair, taking both her hands in his. You never got to finish that sentence, so I'm giving you a chance now to finish it differently. He nodded to Mia, who proudly brought over the ring box and opened it to reveal a simple but beautiful diamond ring. I sat at the wrong table that night, Ryan continued, his voice thick with emotion. Made what should have been an embarrassing, awkward mistake. But instead of apologizing and leaving, I stayed, and I found you. I found love when I thought I'd never love again. I found a future I didn't think I deserved. I found a partner who makes me better, who loves my daughter like her own, who sees the best in me even when I can't see it myself. Tears were already streaming down Natalie's face. "So I'm asking you to finish that sentence differently," Ryan said, opening the ring box. "Natalie Ashford, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life sitting at the right table, which is anywhere you are?" Natalie's hands covered her mouth, shaking with emotion. Around them, other diners had stopped eating, watching the moment unfold with held breath. "Yes," Natalie managed through tears. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger with shaking hands while Mia bounced excitedly. The restaurant erupted in spontaneous applause. Catherine, watching from a nearby table where Ryan had secretly invited her, cried genuine tears of joy and redemption. When Ryan kissed Natalie, it tasted like tears and laughter and promise and home. "Best wrong table ever," Natalie whispered against his lips. "Best mistake I ever made," Ryan agreed, and meant it with his whole heart. The wedding took place 6 months later at one of the Ashford properties, a beautiful garden hotel where flowers bloomed year-round in a massive, climate-controlled greenhouse. It was small and intimate, just close friends and family, exactly what they both wanted. Mia served as flower girl, and her idea to use a small wheelchair decorated with white roses and ribbons so she could match Mama Nat down the aisle made everyone cry. She took her job with intense seriousness, carefully spreading petals with the concentration of a surgeon. Catherine walked Natalie down the ramp toward the altar where Ryan waited, both women crying. At the end, Catherine placed Natalie's hand in Ryan's, then kissed her daughter's cheek. "Be happy, my darling girl," she whispered. "You deserve every bit of this joy." Ryan's vows were simple but powerful, his voice steady despite the emotion. "I promise to push your chair up every ramp and hill we encounter, to stand beside you in every challenge and celebration, to love you on the hard days and the easy ones, to be the partner you deserve, the father Mia needs, and the man who never stops being grateful that I sat at the wrong table. You gave me back my smile, my hope, my future, my heart. All I can give you in return is forever, but I promise to make that forever worth every moment." Natalie's vows came through tears, her voice breaking with happiness. "I promise to love you exactly as you are. Stubborn, protective, terrible at finding your keys. To be patient when Mia wants dinosaurs for breakfast, and patient when you can't find those keys for the 100th time. To build a life with you that isn't defined by what I can't do, but by everything we can do together. You saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me when I thought I was unlovable. You're my best mistake, and I'm so grateful I was sitting at table 12. When they kissed as husband and wife, Mia cheered at full volume. "They're married! I have a mommy and a daddy now, both of them!" The reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and joy. Ryan lifted Mia onto his shoulders while Natalie watched, her heart so full it physically hurt. Catherine spent the evening talking with other guests about the children's charities they supported, already planning expansions and new programs. As the night wound down, Ryan found Natalie on the terrace overlooking the gardens, which were lit by thousands of string lights like captured stars. "Hey, wife," he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Hey, husband," she replied, leaning back against him with a contented sigh. "Having any regrets about sitting at table 12 yet? Not even a little bit. Not for one single second." She turned her head to look at him. "Best wrong table in the history of wrong tables." From inside, they could hear Mia's bright laughter as Catherine chased her through the ballroom in some game only they understood. Their daughter, their family, built from mistakes and second chances and love that refused to give up. You know what the best part is? Ryan asked softly. What? If I'd sat at the right table that night, at table 21 with Jennifer, I never would have found this. Found you, found us, found this whole beautiful, complicated, perfect life. Natalie smiled, the smile that still made Ryan's heart skip after all these months. Then here's to wrong tables and right people, to mistakes that turn into miracles. To wrong tables and right people, Ryan agreed, kissing her under the stars. Always and forever. Inside, Mia tugged on Catherine's dress, looking up at her grandmother with serious eyes. Grandma Cat, do you think my mommy and daddy are happy? Like, really, truly happy. Catherine looked out at the terrace where her daughter and son-in-law stood wrapped in each other's arms, and she smiled with genuine warmth. Yes, sweetheart, I think they're very happy indeed, the happiest they've ever been, and they were. Not because everything was perfect or easy. Not because they never faced challenges or difficult days. Not because the fairy tale ended with, and they lived happily ever after, and nothing bad ever happened again. But because they'd found each other in the most unexpected way possible, and they'd chosen to fight for that love, even when the entire world seemed aligned against them. Because Ryan had taught Natalie that she was whole, exactly as she was. Because Natalie had taught Ryan that it was okay to open his heart again. Because Mia had taught them both that children see truth more clearly than adults ever can. Sometimes the best things in life come from sitting at exactly the wrong table at exactly the right time. And sometimes, just sometimes, the mistakes we make turn out to be the greatest blessings we never knew we needed. Thank you for watching this heartfelt journey of love, courage, and second chances. Ryan, Natalie, and Mia's story reminds us that true love sees beyond circumstances, that families are built on choice and commitment, and that sometimes the wrong path leads us exactly where we're meant to be. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories that inspire, heal, and remind us that even our mistakes can lead to miracles. Because sometimes the best things in life are the ones we never planned for. They're the ones that find us when we're brave enough to sit at the wrong table.